Living with a stranger? Well, let's talk about ways to get along with a new roommate. In efforts to economize, a lot of times we'll put ads out for people to room with. They may or may not be people that we know. And so even if this is somebody that you know, I strongly recommend you do the following 3 things. First of all, make some time to introduce yourselves to each other. Even if it's somebody you know, go out for coffee. Do something apart from the apartment to get to know each other a little better. Sometimes if you're working with a company and the company is paying for your apartment, like is what happens in corporate housing, you may be assigned to somebody that you don't know as well. So it's important that you make the opportunity, you set aside the time to talk to your new roommate, to learn more about them, introduce them to you. You can learn more about them. Be very curious in this time. Be sure to ask questions about your roommate, because this is somebody that who knows how long you're going to have to be living with. So you want to make sure you're both understanding of each other. And the best way is not to start with who you are and what you're all about, but make space for your roommate to tell you more about them and be curious about the things that are important to them and the things that are not. Now, one very good way that you can get to know somebody, and it can also ease some of the social stress, because don't we all get a little nervous sometimes when we're getting ready to meet somebody for the first time? Are they going to like me? What am I going to say? What if I ruin this? You know, we all get those kinds of concerns. Is do something that you have a purpose in, like playing a game. Escape rooms come to mind, maybe going for a hike, doing something where there's a purpose, because if there's an activity, it's actually easier to have a conversation with somebody that you may not know very well. Now, if it's somebody you already know, it still might be a good idea, because living together situations can lead to stress. And that's going to lead me to my second point. My second point is that you want to be setting boundaries early and making sure that those boundaries, that you're both abiding by those boundaries. It can be as simple as which shelves belong to who in the refrigerator. Now, I know that sounds really silly, but to be very honest with you, that kind of stuff can lead to more stress than you can imagine. You know, the other thing that you want to do is another place that tends to create stress is how you're using the bathroom space. So if you only have one bathroom, you want to be really clear which shelves are going to belong to you. If your roommate is allowed to borrow any of your stuff, which I highly recommend you don't let them unless you give specific permission. But these are some of the smaller areas where boundaries are very, very important. Now, one thing I would highly recommend that has to do with boundaries is I would, at the get-go, make sure that your work shifts are pretty similar. It's going to be really tough to be quiet in a place that's your space if your roommate needs to sleep during the day and you're going to be in that space, right? So those are some considerations right off the bat. Along those lines, and really everything that I just talked about is really about respecting each other's space. Now, you need to also discuss how you're going to handle guests coming over, because both of you have the right to have guests over. So you also want to set up, if you want, guidelines that the two of you are willing to follow when you want to have guests over. I know of one situation where when I go to visit one of my daughters, I don't even go to the apartment unless she has already let her roommates know that I'm on my way, so that there's no concerns if they sleep late, they won't show up when they're outside of their room, maybe dressed in a way that they could get embarrassed by. So these are just some little things that in the long run really make for a smoother living together situation. You know, the other thing that you want to think about is check in with each other on a regular basis. Is there something I'm doing that's bothering you? I mean, I can think of a situation like just as simple as leaving your toothpaste on the counter in the bathroom. Maybe that was something you could do at home, but it drives your roommate crazy and you don't find out until you're living together. So do these regular check-ins so that you're both being respectful of each other. And if you need to reset boundaries, you can, because the fact of the matter is living situations change, and you absolutely want to make sure that you're both comfortable in the space that you're sharing, especially in a small apartment. So when you're having these conversations, be flexible. Again, it's important to be curious, because being curious keeps you from coming across as being judgmental, and that can happen, and you don't want to do that. So if you are enjoying these tips from Capri Temporary Housing, then go ahead, click that little button that says subscribe and the bell so that you're notified every time we have brand new content that can help you have a better living situation in your apartment. Ciao!